time on is going through and clearly marking what I see being the first weakness or the first point of failure in my video. And as I had mentioned at the end of the last clip, around the 1 second mark of my slowed down video, so this isn't the same original 1 second mark, about 1/10 of the way into my video, I can see that the top two pieces of this bridge, the two little braces added to the top of this bridge, popped off. They came free first. Again, that's probably not as much bracing as I would put on there, but again, it came free. So that's the point of weakness we want to identify. Now, the way in which we do that is we want to use a star to do this with. One thing you can do, if you don't like the star that you're seeing here, is go to Google and find the arrow or whatever it is you want to use to mark that point where the bridge is beginning to fail. And what I would recommend, though, is that you use an arrow or a shape with a transparent background. And actually, you can see here if I Google search this, an arrow with a transparent background. I'm going to go to images. And what you can see is there's a whole bunch of arrows with transparent backgrounds. What this means is if I copy this arrow and save it to my computer and then drag it into Final Cut, this white background will no longer be viewable. You'll only see the black and the red of this arrow. Same thing goes for these other transparent backgrounds, is that whatever you see behind it, in this case white, will not be there. That is different from most arrows. If you just type in arrow, the majority of the arrows you grab, which are JPEGs for the most part, will have a background which will show up white, which will look awkward on your project. So I have already downloaded an arrow that I am confident will work, but I have an arrow on my desktop and it's a .png, and I'm going to drag that into my project. I'm also going to try and drag it over. Whoops. Okay, I just dragged and dropped it in my project. What you're going to do is create a connected clip immediately above your film strip, which means it's going to exist directly above your project. And okay, and what I can see is where this clip comes in place is there's going to be an arrow here, and this arrow is way too big. So again, we got to go through and modify this arrow a little bit. With the arrow selected, and you can see that there is a glow to my arrow in my timeline, and it's directly above where the clip showed that the bridge was coming apart. I want to select my arrow, and I want to change a few things with it. So in order to do that, we're going to hit the eye over here on the right-hand side of the screen. This is the inspector window, which allows you to see and manipulate whatever it is you have selected. So in this case, I have my arrow image, and I want to change this a little bit. I can scale it down and make it smaller. So that's the first thing that I wish to do. And I also want to put the playhead back here at the beginning so I can locate it where I have these two pieces coming apart. Under the transform, there is also some positioning keys. And you can click and drag, or you can type a number in to locate where your arrow is going to be pointing. So in this case, I shrunk the arrow down by clicking the scale tool, and I can slide it left and right. And that's the first point where I can definitely see on the video that my brace has come apart. And again, you can play around with the size of this arrow. I would recommend keeping it small enough to see what you're pointing at. And one other additional thing is also the rotation you can play around with. You can fly it around a little bit. You can also grab over here to turn it so it's pointing exactly where you want it to be pointing. That's the basic steps to applying your arrow. One thing you will need to do is make sure it's lined up where it needs to be, and it's lined up where it needs to be, and allow it to render. You can see that there is an